Hey, welcome to Cold Turkey Podcast. This week I'm sitting down with Chris. Chris has, again, like one of those fascinating stories that, like you can't wait to hear more. It was a great experience to sit down with him, and I don't, I just don't want to spoil anything. I'm pretty much telling the same thing every week, so I'm going to leave it to that. Again, every week I ask you to share the podcast, let the podcast known to your friends, your buddies, your wife, your cousins, family, and, close ones, and let the podcast known. The other thing is that, if you do a search on YouTube for the podcast Cold Turkey, you may find my blue and white logo and find the YouTube channel. You can like and subscribe. I actually do video conversion of the audio only podcast into like a visual, and made by an application that's fantastic that's called Headliner, and I encourage you to go subscribe to the channel. And when I'm going to reach 100 new subscribers, I'm going to be able to customize the YouTube channel name so that everyone can find it easily. In the meantime, it's just youtube.com/a bunch of garbage. So without further ado, here's Chris. Enjoy. Hey, Chris, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you for having me on.
Hey, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. I'm gonna start off, right there. We've discussed a bit about this just right before starting to record. But where are you from? How's the pandemic going for you, sir?
Well, I'm from originally from Kitchener, Ontario, but I reside in Guelph now. It's where my partner owns a business. She's a professional photographer. So, she owns McCormick Photography here in Guelph. And, I'm Chris Swick, guys. I'm a host of the podcast From the Depths of Darkness to the Light of Success. But yeah, the pandemic, well, work stopped abruptly today, as I was telling you earlier. And, I got a call, everything was going great. Life didn't stop really. At the beginning it did. I didn't work for almost 5-6 months, so as I started a podcast as well. So, my pandemic's been pretty busy with the podcast, to be quite honest. I'm 25 episodes in now almost, and talked with people from all walks of life. So it's got me through, but it's been some tough days for sure too. And like I was saying there, work got stopped abruptly today as I got a call from public health, and apparently there was a case at my barber shop. But so I had to go get one of the tests for the first time today. I can say it definitely doesn't feel great, but it is what it is, to get the test just to figure everything out so I can get back to work ASAP.
Yeah. And in terms of, I've had a lot of that conversation, there's a recurring thought, and, the way people are handling it. But in terms of your sobriety versus the confinement, and going from depending on how, but whatever the mean to keeping your sobriety sane was, either by attending meetings, but at least meeting human to human, the contact of people, to connecting to a Zoom meeting. How has this been impacting? Or how did, because, I repeat myself a lot about that, but, for me, it was a shock initially. I was used I was not like the biggest hugger, or, the biggest, most involved member of the fraternities, but I was, I was there, and, there was something about me, feeding off the spirit of a meeting room that, I've quite appreciated and enjoyed. Connecting to my first few Zoom meetings, I was like, holy shit, I ain't gonna be able to, I can't find the same thing in there. And so my question to you is, how has this been for you?
Well, the Zoom meetings, I did a bunch of them at the beginning, but I'll be honest, it got old quick for me. Like, it just wasn't the same as an in-person meeting. But I stayed connected with people in the rooms, talked to my old sponsor, like very, very regularly. Like, I stayed in connection with even with people that were in and out of the rooms. They'd message me when they'd come back from a relapse and stuff, and just tried to be there for people, and just like I expected them to be there for me. It sucked not being able to see people, because I'm a guy that needs to see people. Like I mentioned, I work car sales as a job. I love just being around people. I'm a very people oriented guy, I guess, and that taking the meetings away from the rooms. I've been to one since I started back up here. There's a few open now since around August or so, or in July, I think, or whatever, a few open. But my home group just opened last week. I haven't been yet just because of my job, but I'll get back to going again and stuff like that. But I'm not in a rush either, just with everything going on, because I do need my job and stuff like that. I can't afford to be off work either.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but I'm doing other things, you know what I mean, and try to talk. But like, I'll be honest, it's not the easiest. Some days are better than others. You know what I mean? Like, I deal with mental health issues and stuff like that, and I'm ADHD, so like I always have to be doing something. That's one of the reasons I started a podcast back in March too. I had an idea and I just started writing it down, and then I just made a goal. All right, I made a date that my first one's going to be released. Then I started recording episodes, and it just evolved from there. And and then I have a sponsor for my podcast as well. Just in the mix, I gathered that too. So it's been a cool team that I've built around me for the podcast for sure. And I've been on other podcasts. I'm on another one tonight with you and stuff. It's been great just getting around, sharing my story on social media. I'm very interactive that way. I flourish and those types of things and stuff like that.
And we share the same thing. Like the podcast actually not saved my sobriety, but saved a bit of my sanity, actually. Like the fact that I was sharing one-on-one with individuals twice a week for more than an hour, picking up on their own life story and sharing some of my snippets of mine.
And I'll be honest too, like I shifted though too. Like I was on some heavy duty medications for my mental health and stuff like that too. But I was like, all right, I need to get off this. And I did lots of research though before I did, and I went and got I'll be honest, I got a medical prescription for marijuana and stuff like that. I did my research before I decided to make that transition though. You know what I mean? Like that's all I used. I couldn't be on, I was heavily dosed on like some antipsychotics and stuff like that. And you know what I mean? And if I can do it naturally and stuff like that, and with CBD, I will do that any day of the week. And so I made that switch back in February, beginning of March. I couldn't have been happier though, because I was just a walking zombie for the longest time. Yes, I was staying sober, and stuff like that, but it just wasn't me.
Yeah.
And I've had like life brought back into me just getting off all those medications and stuff. Like it's not for everyone. I'm not saying everyone do it. I'd say go and talk to your doctor and consult with your doctor before you do anything like I've done. But it's for me, this is my experience, just so everyone knows that. But it was the best choice I made in my life, and it helped me get my kids back into my life and stuff like that, and like all these types of things. You know what I mean? Like I had to be sober for so long and do a couple drug tests and stuff like that before I was even allowed to have my daughter back. Like I didn't see my daughter from last November till this past June, like on a full weekend. So
wow, and I have to admit that there is long due refresher on the I would say like the high level minds, like thinking minds of some of the fraternities. And I think about, sure, like medical marijuana, but I do think a lot about, like some of the microdosing that are, like a research are developing around the microdosing.
I've thought about it, I'll be honest.
Oh, no.
It's been working. Like lots of hockey players. I've got some other guests coming up. I'm not going to name names yet. They haven't been, but I got some other guests in the work. But like lots of them have done the microdosing, from head injuries and stuff like that. And it seems to be working if you do the research and stuff like that. But
there's something about, like like after a few episodes, like I tend to repeat that. But like the fact that in 2020 right now, we don't see AA and NA and CA ads in our social media stream. For me, it should be,
I understand totally, but I think it's the way it's branded and stuff like that. That's not what they're about though.
Yeah, but they still have an ad in the newspaper though.
Yeah, no, understood.
You know, like, so for me, you know, like, as does, you know, like, the reflection and that, you know, like, kind of the brainstorming about, you know, like, what are we going to do about that? You know, like, what are we going to do about people that switch from heavy prescribed drugs that are actually more lethal than having medical marijuana under precise dosage prescribed to you? What are we how do we handle that? But sure enough, you know, like, there's Marijuana Anonymous. I get it, you know, like, but I think there are conditions where both microdosing, medical marijuana use, should be looked into, and just for the sake of, you know, because we tend to be little insecure beasts.
No, for sure. And there's some people that I've lost friendships because they know but that's fine with me. You know what I mean? It's not for everyone, and I understand, and it is what it is. You know, at the end of the day, I got to look after me first, right?
For sure. But, you know, like, what, well, here in Quebec, what initiated the creation of Narcotics Anonymous, for example, you know, like, and I mean by that in French, right? Was the fact that they still didn't know about what's his name, Jimmy K. They didn't know about Jimmy K, which is the founder of NA in LA, or in
oh yeah, no, good old Jimmy K, and everyone knows Jimmy.
But at the time, you know, like, people didn't know about Jimmy K in Quebec, and especially in French. You know, like, none of the documents were translated yet, and so there was a few attempts at Drug Anonymous, and, you know, like, they didn't know where to start from. And some of that was initiated by the fact that people got kicked out of AA meetings because they were talking about coke, and they were talking about weed, and they were talking about acid and mushrooms.
I don't get that. I'm not one of those guys either. Those guys are the old school guys.
Exactly.
You know, we're allowed to talk about, I won't name names or anything, but, like, I have, like, my mom's brother, for instance, not him, but some of his friends. My uncle's been sober almost 40 years now. So, but some of his friends, and you know, 40 plus years of sobriety, you know, some of them are very old school, and they'll try and kick you out of the meeting, but I won't leave. I don't care. I'm there for sobriety. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Sobriety of both the mind, the body, and the spirit. You know, like, for me, you know, like, sobriety is, and especially when you've gone through sobriety for a few years, you quickly realize that sobriety has nothing to do, well, it has, sure enough, at the beginning, it has to do with drugs, but and alcohol and whatever, and substance abuse. But quickly enough, you start to realize that, holy shit, you know, like, I could jerk off to death if I fall into that trap. You know, like,
yeah, no doubt.
I could spend to bankruptcy if I fall into that same trap. I could, you know, like, I mean, there are so many avenues in which I can feed that addict beast other than substance or drugs or alcohol, that, you know, like, it's not about drugs and alcohol. So when I hear that, and again, you know, like, that's what initiated. And the reason I know is that my sponsor is 78 years old, 48 year clean, and he actually was one of the co-founder of Narcotics Anonymous in French in Quebec, because his son got kicked out of some meetings because he shared about his cocaine use and his drug use in Alcoholics Anonymous meetings. And so he made pretty much a promise to his son, which relapsed at the time, that the next time you're going to be taking over, you know, like, and taking control of your life again, you know, like, there's going to be a meeting for you, son. So, and he co-founded and helped in the foundation of
that's amazing, man.
And that's why I know about that, you know, like, and so fast forward a few decades later, my guess is that right now, like, there are decisions and reflection to be made around some of the world organization about, you know, like, well, how do we find our next quote unquote customers? Well, where are they? Are they in the classified ads of the newspaper? Don't think so. You know, like, so where do we find them? You know, like, so let's talk about, you know, like, do you guys know about TikTok? Do you guys know about Snapchat? Do you guys know about Facebook? Holy shit. You know, like, what's going on? Yeah. That's pretty much where
we're all over there now.
Yeah. And that's pretty much where you're going to find your youth, you know, like, so,
yeah.
So how do we find them there? And then the second thing is, what about, you know, like, some of those drugs which were deemed diabolical a few decades ago are now not only legal, but have proven to have changed people's lives. Like I have a close friend with their son had serial epileptic seizures, and I mean by that sometimes up to 40 epileptic seizures a day. So you can, like his development was just stopped, like it was just frozen in time. And so they met with, like some of the kids' hospital, and they really weren't initially open to medical marijuana. And I think he was 5 or 6. And so they said, okay, let's try something. Let's try every prescribed drug on the market. Let's find out if any of these works. If none of them works, so if you can imagine, like trying for a month or 2 months, every one of them, and so they go from 40 to 25, and they go from 40 to 65, and like, oh, so that one doesn't work, that one doesn't work enough, and tried, ended up, like no drugs, like was I would say almost tolerable, and so they prescribed them medical cannabis oil. And since then, I think it was last time I spoke to her, I think it had been something like 18 months or 20 months that he didn't have a seizure.
That's amazing, man. It's proven to have helped lots of children, like with epilepsy and stuff like that.
Yeah. And so so how do we, and like I sure don't hope any of that, but like let's do the hypothesis that this kid gets has the sickness of addiction. Are we going to be dealing with that kid? So are we going to kick him out of of meeting groups because
I wouldn't, because it's a prescription. If it's prescribed
exactly
to you, like it says in the book.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you take your prescriptions as prescribed, there's no problem with that. It's you know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with it in my books, in my eyes. Other people see it differently, and that's their opinion, and they're entitled to that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a long debate that like I'm having.
No one's gonna win. I think at the end of the day, you're gonna have people that will side with you and people that don't. Because I have friends in NA and stuff like that. Because I go to as well that use CBD and medical marijuana for purposes just like myself.
Yeah. And it's like especially CBD for me, it was a long, even internal conversation, like what was the intent in trying it, for example, because I knew there was no, I wouldn't get stoned even drinking the full bottle. I wouldn't get any buzz. So, okay. So how, like and I think the intention and the kind of how mentally you're handling it, like is way more important than the substance itself,
Yeah. No, I use CBD for lots. I use CBD for my shaving cream, like or say aftershave.
Yeah.
So like it's good for everything, man. It's good for your skin. It's good for lots of things.
Absolutely. Yeah. It is. Okay. Let's, as I do pretty much every week, I do ask my guest to rewind his own life story tape, and you tell me where you would bring this. Like we either bring this to the first time you use, or what would you consider an impactful you witnessing substance use around you? And so, like pretty much, like draw me a picture of where we're at, how old are you, and like which one you feel has the most impact for you.
Well, even like my whole life story is impactful, but like getting clean this last time was very impactful because I was pretty much at, the bottom of the bottom at this point. I'd been to jail before that. Thank God this time didn't end up in jail. It was pretty darn close to going there,
But I'm bringing you to way, 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 way pass back that. Like I
Okay.
want to rewind that tape completely. You brought me
Okay.
way too fast.
Okay. Where do you want to rewind it to? The beginning?
Yeah, bring me
Yeah.
to like your first memories of, like I said, like either you using or like my uncle's party were memorable for me because like there was a bunch of adults drunk, and for me
Yeah.
this was, oh, this means party, and like so. And
Well,
I
the first
was
time, like really, I started using like, you know, I'd had sips of my dad's beer here and there, growing up, but first time I really had found a love for any kind of substance was after I was molested at 10 years old. So, and, it was by a family friend the same age as me, got me to do some things. He tried some things on me and stuff like that. And after that, my buddy's friend who's passed away now, his mom had smoked marijuana, and we took some of hers, and tried it out, then got to the booze, and I really felt good there. And then from there, it was, through grade 7 and 8, I was stealing my dad's booze at all times. He had a lot of liquor from us growing up, you know what I mean? But he didn't really drink because his father was an alcoholic as well, who died at 52 years old, cirrhosis of the liver and lung cancer. So, I was only 9 months old when my grandfather passed away, but so my dad didn't really drink. There wasn't like any partying or anything going on at home. We were all three. There was three boys. I'm the oldest of three. So we all played like organized, like top level hockey growing up right through our teens and stuff like that too. And then when I got to high school, just before high school, I got prescribed Ritalin. And that was my first taste of cocaine. If anyone knows what Ritalin is, and I'm not, this is no suggestion or nothing, but it's just my own experience. But it's, basically cheap man's cocaine.
It's speed.
And yeah, so like full blown Ritalin. So my buddy at the time, he's like, yeah, you can snort this and get high. He told me, it's like, well, let's try that. Why not? I have like, I have unlimited amounts of this stuff. Like, I mean, full like pill bottles, like this big, like huge. And like I had like a lot. And so, and my mom couldn't figure out why I was going through it. Like, no, tomorrow I'd need a refill. And I was getting refills like more than I should have, it was all covered under my parents' benefits, everything. So I was just getting this, and the doctors weren't catching on. So I was like, this was going on for a long time too, like almost 2-3 years. Like, but I had never really been introduced to cocaine at this point either.
And how old were you at the time?
Grade 9, I started doing that. So 14 years old.
Wow. And so a few questions just popped up, did following what happened at 10 years old change you? And I know the answer to that, but what I mean by that is, what kind of kid were you before? And what kind of kid did you become when that happened?
I didn't really rebel or anything like that because I really suppressed those feelings. Honestly, and I'm not trying to fast forward anything, but I suppressed those feelings all the way till I got clean this November. We'll fast forward to that later, but
yeah,
like I never talked about that ever. Like, honest to God, it just. I just because I had to bury that feeling, and that's how I was doing it at that point. You know what I mean? And I rode this high for so long, but like it changed me in a sense that I guess the crowd that I hung around, you know what I mean? I was more attracted now to, even though I was playing hockey at a high level still, I was more attracted to the people that wanted to party, drink, smoke drugs and stuff.
The outsiders.
So I got attracted to some older people, and I did hang out with some people that were in a street gang at the time too, around my area. It's no longer a street gang here anymore. Like two friends or two acquaintances from that street gang, also went to jail for murder, and stuff like that too. But we're all older now and stuff like that, and have moved on and have kids, and it's just no longer, you know what I mean? Like, so it was like attracted to the wrong crowd right off the hop. I switched schools I didn't like the Catholic school I was at for some reason. I don't know. I just didn't like the teacher. I was starting to get into trouble at school and stuff like that. Like, really start to get into trouble, not that I wasn't a little shithead, grade 2 and 3 and stuff like that, just being a kid, but I really started to be defiant and stuff like that. Like, this is where my defiance came in for teachers. And I didn't like authority for some reason. I don't know why. Just didn't like authority. I didn't didn't like being told what to do.
And that's usually one of the question I ask. Like one of the first source of outside authority after your parents are actually like your teachers. Like, and so what was your relation with your parental authority, and then what was your relation? You just answered for the one for the teachers, but
Yeah.
what was your?
Well, no, my parents, they weren't too strict. You know what I mean? Like I got my ass handed to me a couple times by my dad. I'm 37 years old, so, but like
That was
I
allowed
remember,
at the time.
pardon?
That was allowed at the time.
Yeah, exactly. But like I remember getting dragged home from school, but he gave me a smack on the ass and he sent me back to school for swearing at my teacher. But I had a pretty decent relationship with him. Like, but that's where the codependency was between me and my mom. You know what I mean? Like my dad was a little different, but there was definitely codependency between both my parents. Now that I have gotten clean and sober and looking at all avenues, you know what I mean? So,
and so the use of Ritalin was probably like, it's like you said, like it's like cheap cocaine. Was weed and booze still involved around that?
oh yeah, that was all the way through. Like I would go to hockey and I would bring beers with me. I'd smoke weed before hockey games. I'd drink beers in the shower. Like that's what went on. And lots of us did that, not just me, but you know what I mean? Like, and I had some friends that went to play in the NHL and stuff like that too. But I could have probably gone places with my hockey too, but I decided to party, girls and drugs. You know what I mean? That was the way I was going once I got high school, sort of thing.
Did how did it, because usually it kind of peaks and starts to slowly go down. How long did it take for it to go down? Like you talked about, like the hockey at some point being.
Oh yeah, it was. I played once I got to high school. I was like, you know what? I didn't really want to play all-star hockey anymore and stuff like that. I just played high school hockey. I did play 5 years of high school hockey. Like I was still playing good hockey and stuff like that, and it was high competitive hockey because now I'm 14 years old playing against guys that are 19, 20 years old as well. So it was between 14 and 20-year-olds I'm playing against, and I didn't mind that. I loved it. I would stand up for myself. I wasn't the guy I wouldn't back down from anyone. That was me though.
Yeah.
It didn't matter. I remember even going to a high school hockey tournament and I got drunk. I remember we billeted with the goalie in Nova Scotia, and I was drinking then, like in grade 9. I'm away from home, just getting drunk in Nova Scotia. It just carried on and carried on. First time I remember doing mushrooms, I was going to high school hockey. Like I would just try. I tried anything. Like I would try anything once. That was just me. And then once I was introduced to crack cocaine around 20, it was off to the races, honest to God, man. Like, and
bring me, because like this is for me, like the and that's me, like I think, like in my teens, when like when crack cocaine was actually introduced, like it was New Jack City, right? Like it was just like crazy. It was almost too fucked up. Like do you know what I'm saying here? Like where like it seems like a high, like it seems like a high step, even if you're, even the, like people I knew that, like was using coke regularly. Crack cocaine was something else. So like it was just, like it's like today meth has that stigma and crack still has, but like there is
we'll
something
get to that later.
But there is something about, like that there's, how do you go from, because I don't know if people still freebase, but like there was freebase and
that was the best. I still did it to this, like till I'll be honest, and I'm not. It wasn't. Yeah, it was the best to me because I just knew how to do it. and I did it till I hung up the skates last year. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
that was the only way I did it.
But the like it was, like even freebase was, I don't want to say trashy, but you probably know what I'm saying. Like where it was, like bad enough, but crack was almost like movie-like. Like it was, well, actually, like it was movie-like. So how do you go from, like the speed feeling or the cocaine feeling that you get from Ritalin to to crack. You know, like it seems like, you know, like I was scared shitless of these. You know, like so for me it was
I was scared at first. Like it wasn't even that. Like I did some coke in my later teens and stuff like that. I had tried acid too in there somewhere, some ecstasy and stuff like that. Like dabbled and stuff like that. I wasn't really, you know, the acid trip was actually quite fun. I'll be honest. Like it was a fun trip, but
it is.
what, but like once I remember I was at the bar right by my parents' house that very first time, and the bartender's boyfriend it was drinking there that night, and he's like, yo, let's go for a drive. And I was like, sure, I'm all drunk, let's do this, whatever. And I don't know, we went all the way back to his house, and he ordered some up, and he gave me a chunk to go home with, and I'll never forget that. Like, and it was off to the races from there. I was like, I need that feeling again. Like, and I didn't do it for a long time after that, for a while, but once I found out, like, my parents like neighbor across the street, their grandson was dealing in I was like, yo, he has this stuff, I'm gonna ask him. You know.
Yeah.
And it was very readily available, let's just say that, you know, like at all costs, you know, I could get it from a few good sources, and it was just over from there. Like honestly, like I was a full-blown addict by I was in my first treatment center by 22, 23, you know, arrested, like for first time being arrested as an adult, you know, in my early 20s and stuff like that, for, you know, some crazy stuff. And, you know, everything.
How
Well,
how did how soon did your entourage, you know, like the parents, family, brothers, found out, or kind of, you know, like what were aware that something was going on and something was wrong?
well, I'd like lose jobs like no tomorrow. Like I would quit jobs or be stealing from them. You know what I mean? Things were going missing from the house and stuff. I was still living at my parents at this time, and they still let me in there. But for a long time, if things would go missing, I would find any way to scam people. You know what I mean? Like I was stealing from my own brothers. It's just stuff like that, you know. And it was to the point that I was like, all right, and then just anything to get high. It didn't matter what you were doing walking down the street or anything. I'd rob you. I didn't care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's what you do for that shit.
And so that's probably how you got arrested.
No, I never got caught in any of that. Knock on wood, you know, but no, I was someone had owed me money, and so they had been taken, you know, in a trunk of a car and stuff like that. But I that was my first, that's why I went did my first stint to treatment, you know what I mean? The judge was nice about it, you know what I mean? Like I needed some help at this point. Like, all right, it's time to get some help, you know what I mean? I'm getting charged with kidnapping, like some serious charges, like forcible confinement and stuff like that, you know what I mean? Like, but I got let off, and I ended up at a treatment center through the St. Vincent de Paul, through Harbor Light in Kingston. Actually, it's for corrections. Mostly people come from corrections and stuff like that. So it wasn't some easy guys and stuff like that. Like, but it was crazy. Like, because some of these guys are coming in. You got to mind you coming into this treatment center after doing 20 years for murder and stuff. So they're just getting integrated back into society. So I'm in with a bunch of different guys, man. Like, but it was good for the first while, but then I decided I'd move out on my own down in Kingston, you know, thought the geographical change would do me good. And, you know, but I had my son then at that point. I'd cleaned up for about 2 years until my son's mother and I had split up and stuff. So, and that was around 25. She had, you know, left. And literally right after she had left, I was right off to the races again for another 10 years, man. Like,
so it wasn't you use that made her leave. It was just like a different of.
Well, I had some clean time like before I'd met her, because I met her down there and I'd got her pregnant and stuff. Before she got pregnant, I decided, you know, I stopped going to meetings and stopped doing everything I was supposed to do. You know the way it goes.
The recipe for disaster.
One night, I decided to get drunk at the bar, and you know, I just drank then, but I did come home one time to my parents' house, and she wasn't there, you know, and the same guy was still around across the street from my parents. I was like, oh, I'll give him a call. Why not? You know, no one's around. But like a couple times I slipped up with that stuff, but then I would drink here and there. But once she left, and it was like she left, it was literally off to the races again for a long time. Like I got charged for uttering her death threats and stuff like that. Like I literally made some phone calls that should have never been made. And the judge, thank God again, knew that, people get angry and stuff like that, but I like had blacked out, but I did said some things that were, you could never take back, but you know what I mean? I never fell through and acted through. I literally had told her that I was going to come down and chop her up in pieces and spread her all around and stuff like that. But that's where these drugs took me, you know what I mean? At that point, it was some dark times, like for a long time then,
And
for
that's
the next 10 years. So,
and for people that, it's important for you to share that, Chris, because, the sweetest individuals that I have met in the past year and a half can actually become monsters, the drug use makes us the shittiest human beings ever.
Most definitely.
People have no idea how much. Well, first of all, addiction is a sickness. We're sick, for God's sake. There's something about people are actively sick, and it pulls out the most horrific side and roots of evil that is within us, and spits it out to anyone that listens. It's just shit puking. It's disgusting.
Most definitely, it's craziness. Like the sides that come out of people. You know what I mean? Like the shit that came out of me. Like I can only, like I said, I've seen it from other individuals, but for myself, like I am a totally different human being when I'm on drugs. End of story. Like there's no, I don't know how to put it. There's no like easy way to put it though. Like I'm just a totally different person, like a monster. Like I am not, like if all bets are off if I ever touch it, you know what I mean? Like 100%. Like I have my kids back in my life today and stuff like that, Yeah, I was in their lives for 10, like the whole time they've been alive. Like my son's 13 in December, my daughter's 6 at the end of November and stuff. So, but literally it's only been the last like 5-6 months that I've actually been present, like literally present. I was present there physically for the last however many years, but mentally I really wasn't even checked in, I'll be honest.
And so my guess is, it must have been hell, but how do you go from splitting up, relapsing, and so you almost double down on, you said it, it's off to the races. What stops you then?
Last November is what stopped me. My partner that I'm with now, she was away on a trip to Costa Rica for work, and I decided I'd have a party for one, the whole week, and basically I was at my wit's end. I was like, basically felt like I was dying from the inside out because towards the end I would literally probably smoke between 7 to 10 grams of crack a day, man. Like I was that's where I was at, man. Like meth, anything at that point, you know what I mean? That's why I said meth, a little meth into later, but like these points, like I'm sitting around people that I think are my friends, and there's like guns on the table and stuff like that, you know what I mean? Like I just didn't give a shit. Like I'm sitting at these trap houses pretty much, just, I don't know what the hell is going on, but you know what I mean? At this point, I'm basically seeing things. I'm delusional at the end of this week. And when you're, sell your partner's belongings and stuff like that, thank God I got it back and stuff like that. And she's still around because she cares about me and stuff. You know what I mean?
But you had met her while in relapse, or?
Well, I had just got a year clean. So like I had just got a year clean and I decided I had it all figured out again. You know what I mean? I'm 36 at that time and just got a year clean. And I was just doing it behind everyone's back after I got another year clean. You know what I mean? Like I've been in and out of the rooms a long time. So,
and that's I have like right before I went in therapy, I had like almost like a 6 to 8 months clean, and you promote that sobriety, right? Like you tell everyone, and it seems to be both like a bragging thing, like, hey, I'm 2 months, I'm 3 months, and if you fall back off the wagon, shame takes over, and you don't want to share it to anyone. Like you don't
Oh,
want to.
exactly. For sure. It's very shameful. But this time I was like, I knew that I could come back. You know what I mean? At least the rooms of NA will take me back anytime. I love that about it. And I got back right to a meeting. Then in November 18th, that was the last time I picked up or used or anything. So,
And so what provoked the decision? Like what was the, was there like
I had to call my brother. Like that whole week was a mess, man. Like I had basically at that point that week I had my car repoed at this point again. I had no car, and I still don't have a car to this day. We're driving with one vehicle. Like I had a car when I met my girlfriend, or I had just got another car. You know what I mean? But I didn't even make one payment. Like literally all my life and energy went into drugs for quite a few months again. Like I was still working, but I would literally work, and come payday, like I was driving home, like I was setting up the deal so it would just be dropped off at my place. I didn't even have to do it. I was just e-transferring at this point. I didn't even care to see them. You know what I mean? Just drop it off. Here's the drop off spot. I'll go outside and get it when you're there. Sort of thing. Like I didn't care to see anyone, but just the drugs.
And you said that you spoke to your brother, and
I called him over, and he got me to call the treatments, not the treatment center, one of the mental health crisis line. I went in and talked with him, and we got the ball rolling to get into treatment. And then, but come January and stuff, I was not in a rock and a hard place. I was like, you know what? I need a change. I had just got fired from a job at work. You know what I mean? Like my anger needs a change. Like I had been clean a couple months at this point, 2-3 months, but it's like, I just need a total change. And a light bulb went off, and I was like, I used to be good at hustling on the streets and stuff like that. So why not sell cars and stuff? I just thought, and I went and wrote the test to become a car salesman and to get my license and stuff like that. And, that's where that took me. And then the pandemic came. So I got laid off from the first dealership I was at all the way till this past August. I got hired at another dealership. So, but that's where I'm at, sort of thing.
Yeah. And so stopping in November means that, like the Christmas holidays are coming soon, and, like
but everyone knew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you pretty much kind of, almost ratted yourself out to everyone that, like you had to stay clean and you had to be careful.
But everyone was supportive all through. Like even my parents, like even when I would go back out, my brother, same thing. Like, because this time I had stolen from him. I'd stolen from my parents. Like I'm 30 plus years old. I'm a grown ass man, and I'm stealing from my family still. You know what I mean? Like from my own blood, and from my partner and stuff like that. I had even stolen from my kids, like from piggy banks and shit, man. That's how low it was going. You know what I mean? Like something had to break. So, and like I was at the point, like I was ready. Like basically, I was about to lose everything. Well, I did lose my kids. Like I didn't really see them from November. I saw my son a little bit at Christmas. My daughter came when my ex came and stuff like that. But, I had to work my ass off to get to where I am today. Like now I have my kids every other weekend, like the days I'm supposed to have them all the time now. You know what I mean? So I've come a long ways, but things will slow. If you work it, it happens. You know what I mean? Shit happens.
How, like speaking of which, like how important is it for you that people around you, like we talked about, like the addiction being a sickness, like it's not a lack of desire to stop, like it's not a lack of, like it's not being lazy or, like not taking, like how important would you say that, like having your family and peers and loved ones understand that is for you to kind of grow in your sobriety?
It's very important for them, and they encourage me. Like even when I get hired at this like jobs, they know about my past. Like they know who, like working for Omvic or applying for a sales license. I had to let them all know about things that I'd done in my past, why I got let go from jobs and stuff. Like I was all right. Well, it's time to be honest and pull your big boy pants up. This is your opportunity right here to be honest right from the get-go, you know. So filling out this Omvic license, they asked me why, because they know why. I asked my buddy who's in car sales, he's like, they know everything. They're just asking for honesty, because it's all about like being a car salesperson. It's about being loyal and honest, and you know what I mean, and all that, those types of things. It's so when they asked about why I got let go of the one job, I let them know straight up, like, it's because I stole like $25,000-$30,000 from a job, you know. But thank God they never charged me. They knew about what I was doing, you know, what I was into and stuff like that. So, and
How do you keep the sobriety healthy then? You know, like, because you had gone through that process, you know, like a few times before, you know, like what makes it different, you think, this time? You know, like even though you mentioned that, you know, like you could have lost everything back then, you know, like, and you know, like, but you didn't. But, you know, like what makes a difference now? What makes the difference now?
well, I have 2 kids that look up to me, you know, and they want their father around, and I can't, you know, leave them this young and stuff like that. And there's family that wants me around. I have a partner, a girlfriend that's just selfish if I go the way go by using drugs or whatever. You know what I mean? I'd rather die clean than die a using addict. You know what I mean? So, for me, it's just, you know, there's so much more to live for in life than smoking crack every day, man.
What is the sobriety diet for Chris? You know, like what you know, like, and I mean by that,
I'll be
like,
honest. Like I loved my beer. I drink non-alcoholic beer. I loved craft beers and stuff like that. So there is lots of good non-alcoholic beers, and then I feel like I can partake still too. Like I don't, but I know, you know what I mean. Everyone knows that I don't drink. Everyone knows about my story. Like I'm not one like some people are, that it's anonymous, but I'm not. Like I'm out there on social media, as you can see, and stuff like that. Like everyone knows what I'm about. Like I don't hide it either. So,
and you know, like I would go
and I
further.
think that's what's helped me though. Just being able to express my feelings and stuff like that through social media, and just doing my podcast. To be honest, like I get a lot from just interviewing my guests and being on other shows and stuff like that. Like, and just lots of things like that. Like I just love learning different things in life, man. And you know, there's more to it. Like I can still have fun. Like I'll be honest, you can still have fun sober and clean, man.
Is there? I mean, you know, like I haven't laughed. You know, like how that may sound odd, but I haven't laughed as heartily and as hard sober that I have ever laughed stoned to the gills, right? Like, even though, you know, like you talked about acid, where I laughed a shitload, but I haven't laughed and had fun as much sober than I've ever had drunk or stoned, you know, like, if you're stoned right now listening to that and you're listening, you know, like there's much more fun to have.
Oh, there's lots of fun. Like I still enjoy life. Like I haven't slowed down at all. Like I pick and choose, like, but you know what? I'm comfortable because I know my groups of friends now. You know what I mean? Yeah, my partner still drinks and stuff, but she's nowhere like me or what I did. You know what I mean? She can enjoy a couple glasses of wine in the evening and she's happy after. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that all those bottles, if there was 12 bottles of wine, they'd have to be done. That's just me. The fridge had to be empty by the morning.
Exactly. Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, I hear you and feel you.
Yeah. So,
my wife can do a glass. You know, like I'm like, what the fuck? You know, like you're gonna put the cork back? What's that shit? You know, like you no.
yeah.
Bottom
you know,
up.
but I'm happy though. I can, you know, I know my friends get home safely now too. Like I'm happy to be the DD. I still wrote to live music. I do all that stuff still, man. Like that still didn't slow me down. Like that didn't bother me. It was, you know what I mean? Once, and I know I'm not going to put myself in situations where there's cocaine and stuff like that. And if there was, I'll remove myself. It's as easy as that. Like I'm not going to risk my sobriety or anything like that. And all my other friends that I hang out with, most of them are clean and sober, and everyone knows. Well, most of them should know if they follow me on social media and stuff. So,
and you know, like I'm going to go further down the question. Is there any meditation, journaling, you know, like stuff that you do that, you know, like kind of has been introduced to, you know, like, and I used, like the term diet, but like, I mean, in terms of regimen and, like kind of,
Well, I've
do,
fallen off a little bit more now that I'm working. Like I got a more of a routine with work and stuff again, which is
yep.
nice. Like I got a really good routine, but I do like to read. I'll be honest. I do like to read, and I am, knock on wood, I just started reading the Alan Carr book to quit smoking again. So like I did that last year again and didn't successfully quit for about 3-4 days tops. And then, but I'm giving it another attempt. That's the last thing I really do now. That's it,
Yeah.
smoke. But, that like I did do lots of meditation like during COVID and stuff when I didn't have a job, and journaling. I do go to the gym. I want to get going a lot more, but I do work out and stuff like that. I have started eating a lot healthier than I was, like not as bad as I was before. I still like to indulge in some ice cream once in a while, but you know what I mean? Like you can see the life in me again. I'm healthy again though. Like before my face was so swollen and the bags under my eyes.
Yeah.
But I just have life in me again and stuff like that. I do have ADHD too, so I'm all over the place some days. But and like I said, that's the only medication I take. I take one pill a day, but I take it prescribed now. So
Yeah. Makes
and,
a world of difference.
Oh, most definitely, for sure. And when I take things as prescribed to me, they work great. So.
Last question I got, like you talked about, like being involved in social media and, like trying to inspire others. Tell me more, like what does that brings to you? Like, like you talked about the podcast, like what do you feed out of that? Like, and where can we find you?
Well, okay. So I'm on Instagram at Depths of Dark Side. So DEPTHSDARKSIDE. So that's at Depths of Dark Side on Instagram. And my podcast is From the Depths of Darkness to the Light of Success. I'm also on Facebook, the same as title as my podcast. So that's where I am mostly. So I'm Instagram mostly at Depths of Dark Side, but I feed off the social media to this, like people. I love the people that reach out to me and just say like I've inspired them. I've had old people that I haven't talked to in a long time, like that have reached out. Haven't even heard from these people since like high school and stuff. But it's nice just to see what people are doing today and stuff like that. Some people, I've helped out in a sense. I got my sponsor from Compass 9 Media. They're two young entrepreneurs, but it's great when you put three minds alike, and it's just crazy the things that I've been invited to, like that I would never been invited to if I was not clean and sober. Like even my one buddy who's a musician, a recording artist, and indie artist and stuff like that, and an alternative, John Maxim, but he's told me too, like I would have never invited you to the recording studio with me if you weren't clean and sober. Like the old Chris would have never been invited anywhere. I'll tell you that. So,
that's awesome. Like I'm humbled and grateful about, like the people accepting to be part of that journey. Like for me, it's just, it's an exciting experience that I'm going through. Like I underestimate the good that it would bring me. I was, well intent in sharing and getting, I would say, like getting the people that don't know about, like the sickness of addiction and the sickness of, like some of these sickness, like I've had people with psychosis issues and, like depression issues and eating disorder issues. And
that's
but,
awesome, man. I have everyone from all walks of life too, man. It's amazing.
And what's closer to my heart is actually like substance abuse, because I like even my mom that passed, like this year, my mom passed, and to this, like just even, like before dying, still didn't quite understand what I meant by this is a sickness, like like it's the sickness of addiction. And, like there's, like the liar or the, like the guy that steals, it's not me, like it's that fucking addiction that, like that takes over. And so that's the reason why I did that podcast. Like it's to, like when you get to, like once you get Chris introduced to you, like he's clean, but he describes the monster that it could have been, and that he could have, that that has been under the influence, and that's the beauty of that. You know, like it's that.
Exactly. I can assure you that nothing's gone missing since I've got clean, man. It's amazing.
It is great. And so I thank you for participating into that. You know, like for me, it's just it's humbling and it's just a great experience for me. And so for that, you know, like I thank you to be part of that. I'm going to be putting every link of where Chris wants us to find him in the description of the podcast below. So whatever platform you're listening to, you scroll down or whatever, you're going to find every links in there. And thanks again, Chris. It was quite a ride.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. We'll have to have you on my show sometime, man.
I would love to.
All right.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Yeah, you too.